Some protesters are marching from Johannesburg to the Union buildings under the banner of Zimbabwean Lives Matter. They are calling for the African Union to intervene in what seems like a deepening crisis in that country. Government there has been criticized following the arrest of protesters and journalist Hopewell Chingono. Our reporter Khayelihle Khumalo is following the march to Pretoria and joins us live now. It's a long walk, Kaya, from Johannesburg to Pretoria, but I suppose it is symbolic of the long walk that Zimbabweans have had in as far as the crisis in their country is concerned. I mean, almost 2 decades now. What is the message that those protesters are taking to union buildings?
Well, by all accounts, it's a very long walk. So currently where we are, we're passing now Ilovo. So we had to divert because the law enforcement authorities, they were saying they were not supposed to walk on the highway. So the message is very clear for South Africa to be involved in terms of making sure that Zimbabwe does have a permanent solution. And also, we are the African Union chair, so the message is for Pretoria to make sure that there is a solution in Zimbabwe. Let's try and just hear how they are feeling right now. I'm just going to start with you, Mr. Ndlovu. At this point, how are you feeling? I mean, it's been a couple of kilometers from Mandela Bridge.
Very, very fresh, with renewed energy. Especially after drinking some water. So we are very fresh here. We feel like I can travel up to the border right now.
Tell us about the key message you're sending to the union buildings.
The key messages are very simple. First of all, we are calling for AU chairperson, who is the president of South Africa, to intervene in the political crisis and the socio-economic crisis in Zimbabwe through African peer review mechanism, to intervene on the issue of governance, on the issue of violence, violation of human rights, on the issue of economy, because that policy which they adopted, I remember they talked about it in Addis Ababa when President Ramaphosa became the chairperson of AU. They agreed that it is a mechanism through which they can monitor each other, monitor on these issues which are bedevailing the country of Zimbabwe, which are causing havoc in that country. So that's one most major issue. We are also calling for the AU and SADC leaders to bring the African solutions to African problems. And that will simply mean that create a platform where Zimbabwean people will be able to choose leadership without repression, without their rights being curtailed. In other words, we are calling for a national transition authority or an independent leadership in that country to prepare for those elections. We are calling for reforms, political reforms, economic reforms, and other reforms.
All right, maybe let's hear from others as well. You know, it's about 9 members who are part of this demonstration. What about you, ma'am? Obviously, are you prepared to go all the way to Pretoria?
Yeah, I'm prepared. I'm prepared to go all the way to Pretoria, even further, because the way it is now, it's all about sacrifices. If you don't sacrifice, there is no future. So, yeah, as youth, we are prepared to go as far as Pretoria by foot, just to say we want help. Yeah.
All right. So those are the voices here from, of course, Ilovo all the way to the union buildings. I mean, they have a massive banner here that they have, just to give you an idea. Long walk to freedom. Hashtag Zimbabwean Lives Do Matter. A call to SADC, AU and international community to help Zimbabweans save themselves. And of course, it started all the way from Nelson Mandela Bridge. So they are quite geared up and making sure that they do have the energy to reach the capital.
All right, Kaya, thank you for that. We'll catch up with you a bit later on. Not to make light of the cause that they are marching for, I need to point out and remind you that you have the experience of that walk from here in Johannesburg to Pretoria with Mcebo Dlamini, right? Somehow you seem to land up with these assignments, Kaya. By your gauging, how well are they doing? How far, like, you know, if you're saying they're in Ilovo, it means they haven't even left the boundary of Johannesburg yet. Just from your previous experience doing this walk, What still lies ahead for those activists?
Well, it's a very energy-sapping experience. You know, from here to Pretoria, it's still 10 more hours to go. You know, based on my previous experience, I remember when we reached, Centurion, I really didn't want to do anything because I was sweating. It was absolutely, absolutely disastrous. So it's still a very, very long journey ahead.
It's going to be a long night for you, Khayelihle Khumalo, because my sense is, they should really be much further along than what they are in the hour 11 of the day. But in any case, we will catch up with you a bit later on. Khayelihle Khumalo tracking that walk by those activists there from Nelson Mandela Bridge here in Johannesburg to the Union buildings to raise the issue of Zimbabwe and sort of try to highlight the plight of that country.